You're standing in front of a mirror, wearing the wedding dress of your dreams, your heart pounding with the thrill of knowing tomorrow is the day you'll step into a new chapter of life. 9 months. 9 long, sleepless months of pouring your soul into every detail, every flower, every vow, crafting a day so perfect it feels like a masterpiece of love. You've imagined it all, the music swelling, the guests smiling, and him, your forever, waiting at the end of the aisle. Then, in one gut-wrenching moment, it's gone. The man you love, the one you trusted to stand by you, vanishes into thin air. The night before your wedding. No goodbye, no explanation, just you, alone, surrounded by the wreckage of a future you built with your own hands. That's my story. I spent 9 months painting a perfect picture of love, only for him to erase it all in a single night, leaving me with a heartbreak I couldn't name and a secret that chilled me to the bone when I uncovered it. Come with me on this journey, where tears, betrayal, and strength collide, and where I learned to rise from the ashes of my own shattered dreams. I've always been the woman who keeps it all together, or at least, I've tried to fake it till I make it. At 43, I'd carved out a life I could hold my head high about. A quaint little house with a wraparound porch dripping with bougainvillea, a job managing a boutique downtown, where I knew every customer by name, and a daughter, Ellie, who'd just spread her wings for college. But my heart? After a divorce a decade ago, it was a cold, empty space I'd resigned myself to living with. I'd convinced myself love wasn't in the cards for me, until Mark walked into my world. He was 45, a contractor with calloused hands, a shy smile that reminded me of a schoolboy, and warm hazel eyes that melted me every time they met mine. Last September, under a full harvest moon with crickets serenading us, he dropped to one knee, held up a ring that caught the moonlight, and asked, "Jen, will you marry me?" I said yes so fast, tears streamed down my face, nearly knocking the ring from his trembling fingers. In that moment, I thought I'd finally found my safe harbor. The next day, I dove into wedding planning like it was my calling. I'm a details person, always have been. I bought a thick hardcover binder, labeled tabs with venue, flowers, menu, music, guests, and spent 9 months turning my dream into reality, piece by painstaking piece, like an artist chiseling a sculpture from raw stone. We settled on the Rosewood Inn, a storybook place with ivy-clad walls, a garden bursting with the scent of roses, and stained glass windows that danced with color in the June light. My dress was a work of art, soft ivory, off the shoulder, with a flowing train I'd practiced walking in for hours in my living room, giggling to myself as I pictured Mark's face when he'd see me. Mark didn't fuss over the little things. "You're in charge, Jen," he'd say, sipping his coffee at the kitchen table while I flipped between pink peonies and pristine white roses. "I just want to see you coming down that aisle." I'd roll my eyes and tease him, but deep down, I was over the moon. He trusted me, and I trusted him, trusted that we were building something real, something lasting. Those 9 months were a whirlwind of checklists, late-night whispers, and stolen kisses over takeout dinners. We picked a string quartet to set a romantic mood, a 3-tier lemon cake, his favorite, ever since I baked it for him on our 3rd date, and a guest list of 80, weaving together my family, his, and the friends who'd cheered us on. I even swallowed my pride to patch things up with his sister, Carla, who'd always looked at me like I was a stain on her perfect family tapestry, just to keep the peace. I did it all for him, for that day, for the future I'd painted in my mind. A home filled with laughter, lazy weekend mornings with coffee in hand, and maybe, someday, another little one to give Ellie a sibling. By June 14th, the night before the wedding, I was a bundle of exhaustion and exhilaration. Trish, my best friend since forever, threw me a low-key bachelorette night at her place. Just us, a bottle of chilled Pinot Grigio, a charcuterie board she'd arranged like a Pinterest post, and a playlist of 90s love songs we'd belted out in our wilder days. We laughed until our sides hurt, reminiscing about the stupid things we'd done in our 20s, and I felt like a giddy girl falling in love for the first time. At 9:15 p.m., my phone lit up with a text from Mark. "Tomorrow's the big day, babe. Can't wait to see you in that dress." My heart skipped, and I typed back, "Love you. Sleep tight." I crawled into bed, closed my eyes, and drifted off, dreaming of him taking my hand at the altar, his eyes sparkling as I walked toward him. I jolted awake at 5:30 the next morning, too wired to sleep. Sunlight slipped through the curtains, casting golden streaks across the hardwood floor. I lay there, grinning like a fool, picturing Mark in his suit, waiting for me with that lopsided smile I adored. I grabbed my phone, no message from him. Strange, but I brushed it off. He was probably wiped out from his bachelor party, snoring away somewhere. By 8, I was in the kitchen, hands trembling as I brewed coffee, when Trish burst in with a bag of bagels and a makeup case big enough to pack for a month. "Ready to become Mrs. Larson, Your Majesty?" she teased, flashing a grin. I laughed, but a flutter of unease stirred in my chest. I called Mark. Voicemail. "Hey, hun, just checking you're up. Big day ahead." I forced a cheerful tone, but my pulse quickened. By 10, the hairstylist was pinning soft curls into my hair, and I texted him. "You okay?" "Starting to worry." Silence. Trish caught me staring at my phone and waved it off. "He's probably hung over with the boys. You know men, never on time." I nodded, forcing a smile, but the unease grew into a heavy stone in my gut. By noon, I couldn't take it anymore. I called Dave, his best man. "Hey, have you seen Mark?" Dave paused, a heartbeat too long. Not since last night. He was fine when I left the bar. I'll check his place." I hung up, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. At 1 p.m., Dave called back, his voice barely a whisper. "Jen, he's not here. His truck's gone, and his closet looks half empty." I froze, the phone pressed to my ear as Trish's chatter faded into a dull hum. "What do you mean, half empty?" I screamed, my voice breaking. Dave didn't answer right away, and that silence sliced through me like a blade. Mark was gone. No note, no call, no trace. The man I'd spent 9 months loving, dreaming of a life with, had disappeared hours before we were supposed to say, "I do." The next few hours were a living nightmare. Trish scrambled to cancel vendors, her voice cracking as she made call after call. I sat curled up on the couch, still in my robe, staring at the binder that now felt like a cruel joke. My sister Meg rushed over, wrapping me in her arms as I sobbed until my throat burned, mascara streaking my face like a tragic painting. "How could he do this to me?" I wailed over and over, but no one had an answer. By nightfall, the Rosewood Inn called, offering a half-hearted refund with a tone dripping with pity, and I was left in a house overflowing with flowers, white roses I'd picked because Mark once said they reminded him of me, that I couldn't bring myself to touch. I blocked his number, though he never tried to reach me, and deleted every photo of us from my phone, one by one, as if I could erase the pieces of my broken heart. The weeks that followed were a fog. The shock morphed into a blazing anger, then settled into a dull, relentless ache. I threw myself into work, hiding behind the cash register to dodge the pitying stares of customers, whispering about the jilted bride. Ellie came home for the weekend, quietly baking me chocolate chip cookies, hugging me tight and whispering, "You deserve so much better, Mom." I nodded, tears spilling over, but I didn't believe it. I'd given him everything, my time, my love, my trust, and he'd crushed it without a second thought. Then, in late July, Trish called, her voice trembling. "Jen, get over here. You need to see this." I drove to her place, my mind blank, half expecting her cat had escaped again. Instead, she pulled me onto the couch, opened her laptop, and pointed at the screen. It was Carla's Facebook page, Mark's sister. She'd posted a photo 2 days ago. Her, Mark, and a woman I'd never seen. A blonde with a radiant smile, cradling a chubby baby. The caption read, "Family reunion. So glad to have my brother back home." The timestamp, June 16th, the day after I was supposed to be his wife. Comments poured in with congratulations, someone asking, "How's Lisa doing with the little one?" Lisa. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. I stared at Trish, tears welling up. "Who's Lisa?" She scrolled down and the nightmare unfolded. Photos of Mark with this woman, stretching back months, her belly swollen with pregnancy. One from April, him kissing her cheek in a park, his eyes tender in a way I'd thought was only for me. April, when I was picking table linens and sampling cake flavors, he was there, with her. Trish kept digging, pulling up Lisa's profile. She lived 3 states away, and her life spilled out in vivid color. A cozy house, a pastel-painted nursery, and Mark, my Mark, standing beside her, holding the baby like a proud father. The truth crashed over me like a tidal wave. Mark had never truly left her. Lisa was his ex, or so he'd told me, claiming they'd been over for years. But the baby, born in May, was his. He'd been living 2 lives, spinning me promises of a future, while cradling her and their child in secret. The night before our wedding, as I dreamed of our life together, he must have panicked, thrown his things into that truck, and raced back to his real family. Carla's smug posts suddenly made sense. She'd known all along, despised me for stepping into a story I didn't belong in, though I'd never known I was the other woman in his twisted play. I didn't cry this time. The tears were gone, replaced by a fury that burned white hot and a humiliation that seared my pride to ashes. Trish roared, ready to drive across state lines to confront him, but I grabbed her arm, my voice ice cold. "Don't! He's not worth another second." I sold the wedding dress online, watching strangers bid on my broken dream with a pang in my chest. The binder, I dropped off at a thrift store, leaving it on the shelf like a relic of a past I wanted to bury. I started therapy week by week, learning to forgive myself for being so blind. By fall, glimmers of light crept back into my life. I painted my porch a bold, sunny yellow. Ellie called it the color of hope, and we'd sit there, laughing until our stomachs hurt over ridiculous reality TV shows. A guy at the hardware store started flirting with me when I bought the paint, his clear, honest eyes a stark contrast to the lies I'd known. I wasn't ready to love again, but for the first time in months, I felt a smile that wasn't forced. Mark ghosted me, yes. 9 months of my heart and soul poured into a wedding that never happened. But from those ashes, I found a stronger version of myself. A woman who didn't need anyone to complete her, who didn't need a binder to define her joy. Now, as the autumn sun spills across my yellow porch, I wonder, will these scars ever fully heal? I've risen from the pain, but my heart still wavers, half of me longing to believe in love again, half of me terrified of another betrayal. Mark walked away, leaving me with fragments, but I've pieced them together into a new picture, beautiful in its own jagged way. What about you? If you were me, pouring your whole heart into someone, only to be abandoned on the edge of your happily ever after, what would you do? Would you lock your heart away, safe behind walls, or take the risk to step forward, knowing it might break again? Tell me your thoughts. because I believe every scar has a story, and I'm dying to know how yours might end.